What if I told you that the way a man truly falls in love has almost nothing to do with romance, attraction, or grand gestures? What if love doesn't begin with desire, but with something far quieter, emotional safety? Most people believe men fall in love through excitement, passion, or physical attraction, and while attraction can pull a man in, it doesn't make him stay. A man can feel intense chemistry, crave someone deeply, and still never truly open his heart. Attraction is fast. Love is slow. Attraction excites the senses, but love settles into the nervous system. Love begins for a man when he feels emotionally safe. This is difficult for many men because vulnerability has long been tied to weakness. From an early age, men are taught, directly or indirectly, to control their emotions, hide fear, suppress doubt, and stay strong at all costs. Strength becomes their identity. Emotional control becomes survival. So when a man starts to trust someone enough to lower his guard, even just a little, it goes against years of conditioning. And when that happens, something powerful shifts inside him. That moment isn't logical, it's biological. When a man feels accepted without judgment, his brain releases oxytocin, the hormone responsible for bonding and emotional attachment. This chemical shift doesn't happen because everything feels perfect. It happens because his system registers safety. Not attraction, not fantasy, safety. And this is the part most people misunderstand. Men don't fall in love when everything is going right. They fall in love when something goes wrong and you don't walk away. Not to fix him, not to rescue him, not to turn his vulnerability into a lesson or a weapon later, but simply to stay present. That quiet, steady presence sends a powerful signal to his nervous system. I'm safe here. And when a man feels safe, his defenses begin to relax. His emotional walls don't crash down all at once. They soften slowly, almost without him noticing. Emotional safety doesn't mean agreeing with everything he says or being overly gentle all the time. It doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior or losing yourself. It means being grounded. It means holding space for his truth without turning it into chaos, drama, or emotional punishment. It means he can be human with you, imperfect, uncertain, still figuring things out, without fearing rejection or ridicule. When a man feels this kind of safety, something subtle but profound happens. He begins to associate you with peace instead of pressure, with calm instead of performance, with relief instead of expectation. And once that association forms, attachment follows naturally. That's where love starts. Not in fireworks, not in obsession, but in calm, steady emotional ground where his heart finally feels allowed to rest. Once emotional safety is established, love begins to grow, but not in the way many people expect. For many men, love doesn't first show up in long conversations or emotional speeches. Men often bond through action, not words. While many women naturally connect through talking, sharing, and emotional expression, men are often wired to connect through doing, through effort, through presence. So when a man begins to fall in love, he may not always say it clearly or confidently, but he will show it in ways that are easy to miss if you're only listening for words. He fixes things you didn't ask him to fix. He notices small changes in your mood. He remembers how you take your coffee, the music you like, the routine that comforts you. He pays attention to details that matter to your daily life. These behaviors aren't random or accidental. When the male brain becomes emotionally attached, it starts collecting information, not to impress, not to perform, but to care. His attention shifts from himself to you, from me to we. When a man helps, provides, or solves problems, it's not just about being useful. It's his way of saying, I care about your world and I want to be part of it.
It's how he expresses emotional investment before he has the language to express emotional depth. This is why many men feel unseen in relationships. Their love often goes unnoticed because it isn't spoken, it's demonstrated. And when those efforts aren't recognized, a man may slowly feel invisible, even while still trying. But as important as action is, there is something even more powerful than effort: respect. Respect is not a bonus for a man in love, it is the foundation. A man may tolerate criticism from work, family, or the outside world, but when he feels disrespected by the woman he's emotionally open with, something inside him begins to fracture. It rarely happens loudly or dramatically. Instead, it happens quietly, like a door slowly closing inside his chest. The male mind closely links respect with self-worth. From an early age, many men are taught that their value comes from competence, strength, and reliability. So when he feels constantly corrected, mocked, dismissed, or doubted, even in subtle ways, his nervous system interprets it as failure. He doesn't disconnect to punish, he disconnects to protect himself. What a man truly needs isn't constant praise or control, it's acknowledgement. Simple words like, "I see how hard you're trying," or "I know you're doing your best," can calm his nervous system and deepen his trust. Those words tell him, "You are still valuable here. You are still respected." And when a man feels respected, something powerful happens. His guard drops, his effort increases, his love grows stronger, not weaker. Because respect doesn't just support love, it allows love to breathe.
Even with attraction, safety, and respect, there's one truth many avoid. Timing matters. A man can care deeply about you and still not be ready to love you fully. If he's fighting inner battles, financial stress, unresolved pain, shame, or identity struggles, he may not have the emotional space to commit. This isn't cruelty, it's survival. Love alone is not enough. A man must be emotionally ready to receive it. When he's unsure, he often tests, not consciously, but through behavior. He may pull back, go quiet, or emotionally disappear for a while. He's watching your response. Will you panic? Will you chase? Will you accuse? Or will you remain steady? He's not looking for someone to fix him or constantly reassure him. He's looking for someone strong enough to stand beside him without collapsing emotionally. If he sees that vulnerability doesn't turn into control or punishment, his walls begin to fall naturally. Not because you pushed them, but because you proved you were safe. This is where love becomes a choice. Not fantasy, not drama, but a grounded decision. And when a man chooses you, he's choosing to believe that being fully known won't lead to rejection. That belief changes everything.
Many people believe men fall in love with beauty. And while attraction does matter, it's not what keeps a man emotionally attached over time. Attraction may open the door, but it isn't what builds a home inside his heart. A man bonds most deeply with how he feels around you. Your presence, your energy, the emotional atmosphere you create when you're together. A man doesn't just fall in love with you, he falls in love with who he becomes when he's with you. That's the part few people talk about, yet it's one of the most powerful forces in male attachment. If a man feels small, judged, or constantly like he's getting it wrong, his spirit slowly begins to withdraw, not because he doesn't care, but because being around you starts to feel like a reminder of failure. Over time, even strong attraction can't survive that emotional weight. But if he feels himself growing around you, becoming more confident, more focused, more grounded, his bond becomes incredibly strong. Not because you boosted his ego, but because you believed in him without trying to control or reshape him. The strongest love inspires growth without force. It doesn't come from constant instruction or correction. It comes from quiet belief, from seeing a man's potential and trusting him to rise into it on his own time. When a man feels believed in, something inside him shifts. He begins to hold himself to a higher standard, not out of fear, but out of pride. And when that love matures, it evolves into something deeper: legacy. At a certain point, a man begins asking questions that go beyond attraction and comfort. Who am I becoming? Does this relationship add meaning to my life? Will this last beyond the moment? Love that helps answer those questions becomes sacred. It stops being about excitement alone and starts being about purpose, about building something that matters. What keeps that kind of love alive isn't perfection, it's emotional self-control. The ability to disagree without destruction, to express hurt without cruelty, to stand firm without tearing each other down. Men pay close attention to how safe they feel during conflict, not just when things are easy, but when emotions are high. Can you argue without damaging the bond? Can you stay kind even when you're upset? Can you protect the relationship while still honoring yourself? When the answer is yes, something powerful happens. A man begins to see you as someone he can face life with, not just enjoy life with. And that distinction matters more than most people realize. That's what makes a man choose you again and again. Not out of obligation, not out of fear of loss, but because he truly wants to. So ask yourself this honestly. Are you creating the emotional environment where love can grow, deepen, and last? If this message resonated with you, like this video. Share it with someone who may need to hear it. Subscribe for deeper conversations about love, human nature, and emotional growth. Because real love isn't just something we feel, it's something we build every single day.